Hello YouTubers, nice of you to come along. I think this summer has been a bit of a washout for me with all this business of trying to get Aitch blacked. So I've wasted a month and a half, 2 months I reckon. So it's time for some new adventures. And today we're going to leave the boatyard and head for the South Oxford, towards the city of Oxford. So come along. You're joining me as I'm trying to reverse out of this tight spot at the boatyard. What I've got to do like a U-turn in reverse with the wind pushing me over at the same time. Luckily enough, I can see Roger walking up in the distance there. Perhaps he'll give me a little nudge here and there. There's not a great deal of space here from all angles. See how that wind is pushing Aitch sideways. I've got to put a lot of throttle on here and hold the tiller right over to the right hand side, and hopefully Aitch will respond, which it looks like it's doing. Just thanking Roger for the good job that he's done on Aitch. And now we're away on a new adventure down the South Oxford. Well, we're not quite on the South Oxford yet, but I'll bring this map up and show you the route that we're going to take. You can see where the boatyard is at Braunston on the Grand Union, and we're going to turn, looking at the map, left at Braunston Junction. Still the Grand Union until you get down to Napton Junction, where the Grand Union carries on up to Stratford-on-Avon and places like that. But we're going to carry on down onto the South Oxford and to Napton. It's about 5 or 6 miles today. That dog's got good balance. I wouldn't trust Ashby doing that. Concentrate, as you'll be going for a swim. It's been a week now since they had the historic boat rally at Braunston, and there's still a lot of historic boats moored up around the place. Morning. I'm just about to meet 2 of my members on the Buy Me a Coffee app, Martin and Di. Yeah? I had a walk up here the other day and had a look here. I was waiting for someone to call me out, but I'm going Napton, that way. Oh yeah. Yeah, thank you for what you do. See you later. They seem like lovely, friendly people, and it's always nice to put faces to the names. So yeah, thanks for being members. Martin and Di. I hope to bump into you again, and we can have a proper chat. Starting that old vintage engine has made someone happy by the sound of it. I've just spotted the nice young couple from the Narrowboat channel, Chris Atomic. Yeah, nice to see you.
We only ever see you here.
What's that?
We only ever see you here.
Yeah, I've just got black, so... Pardon? Boatyard, is it? Right near the lock. Yeah, see you later. I did point my other camera at them to get a bit of a close-up as we was talking, but being ever the professional, I managed to turn the camera off instead of on. I'm sure that's something they wouldn't do on their channel, because I reckon they're much more professional than I am. Right, we're coming up to Braunston Junction, where I'm going to turn left under this bridge. If you go straight up, that's the South Oxford Canal. Starts just there. But I've already been up there and filmed it all, which you can see on earlier versions or episodes of my little channel. So we're going to head along the Grand Union, and eventually we'll come to the South Oxford. For those of you that are new to narrowboat channels, if you look up into the distance there, you can see a bridge coming up, and it's a special bridge because it's a turnover bridge, sometimes called a horseshoe bridge. They was designed back in the day for when horses pulled the barges, and they could change from one towpath to the other without having to unhitch the horse from the barge. Hopefully I've described it in a way that makes a bit of sense to you, because I can be a bit of an old waffler in my old age. There's some lovely private moorings over here on the left. It's the sort of thing that one day I might take up when I get a bit too old to do all the locks and to be living out here full time, but we'll see. Whoops. Turning into a windy old day. There's a wide beam moored up in front of us here, and another boat is coming past the wide beam, and there's not a lot of space, so I've had to pull right over. It looks like the tree is sweeping the roof. I can hear you lot saying in unison, about time someone did. See what I mean about not a lot of space here? I haven't seen a wide beam for a while, but I suppose there's still quite a few double-sized locks on the Grand Union. I know where I'm going will only be single locks. You won't be able to get wide beams up there. The scenery is starting to change the further that I'm getting towards the South Oxford. A bit more like rolling hills and all that around this way. I feel a bit sorry for these people. They've hired a narrowboat out in the middle of summer, which is probably top dollar, and the weather's been terrible. But it looks like they're still trying to make the most of it. Come out into the more open areas, I'm really noticing this wind getting worse and worse as I'm going. It's turning into one of them days that you look forward to mooring up and putting the kettle on. But as it's the start of a new canal and a new adventure, I'll keep pushing on so you can see exactly what happens when I'm out here. Yes, I'm liking the look of the countryside round here as we're getting further along. Even in this bad weather, it looks lovely. So I think it will be gorgeous when we get a bit of lovely weather. So yeah, that'll be nice. Just to the left of this bridge, there's a village called Lower Shuckburgh. Like most of the places around here, I don't think there's much there except for like a big old manor house. But I'm not going to stop here. I'll keep pushing on until we get to Napton on the hill, and I want to have a good look around there, and hopefully I'll take you with me. I don't know where he's going, but wherever it is, he's going there fast. There's a hire boat speeding along behind me, so I've just pulled over and waved him past. I can almost feel the stress as they're passing by. So much for a nice relaxing holiday, narrowboating. In my opinion, I think a lot of the hire boaters miss a trick, because they seem to think they've got to do as many miles as they can, as fast as they can, and end up going back to work more tired than they went. We're coming up to Napton Junction now. When I get past Napton Junction, it's the start of the South Oxford Canal. If you look to the right, that's where the Grand Union carries on. up towards Stratford-on-Avon and places like that. But that'll be for another time. I'm trying to show you up the Grand Union here, but the wind's so strong it's blowing me all over the place. I think that's called Wigram's Turn Marina over there on the left. And then that leads on to Napton Narrowboats, which is a hire boat company. It looks like they've got quite a big fleet because you see loads of these around this area. And there's still a fair few here waiting to be hired. We're not too far from our destination now, Napton on the Hill. One of my favourite things about this lifestyle is finding all these new little villages, to me anyway, and having a look round. I think it's fascinating sometimes. And that looks like Napton on the Hill up there on the left. So I'm going to keep my eye open now for somewhere nice to moor up and set up home for a few days. It looks like most of the mooring spaces have been taken up, and I'm coming up to the locks now, so I'm hoping to moor up in the lock pound after the first lock that I go up. And over here on the left there's also a services point which I will use. Luckily enough, I haven't got to take on any water because I had done that at the boatyard, but I've got a bit of rubbish to dump and a toilet cassette to empty, so it's always best to do that when you get half a chance. It's a thing that you learn through experience when you've been out here a while. It's even if you've got a little bit to empty, do it, it's always best. You never know when the next one's coming up.
Amazes me how quick it disappears.
Yeah,
No matter what you do.
yeah. Or it changes colour.
This boat's just come out of the lock and they want to get onto the service point, and the lock gates are open for me to go straight in. Perfect. It's even more perfect. We've got volunteer lock keepers here.
Hello, mate. Hello. Alright.
There's a flight of 9 locks here. I don't fancy doing that today, so I'm really crossing my fingers that I can find somewhere in between the locks and the pounds here, and hopefully in between this first lock and the second lock.
Then when you come up, Thanks very much.
The lockkeeper told me to stay on the boat, and he's made it really easy for me, which is very nice.
Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Hello, you.
It looks like I might be able to squeeze Aitch in just past this lock landing and that first boat. There might be a little space behind the first boat. That'll be better if there is. I'll have a quick look. Nah, there's not enough space behind that boat, so I'll have to reverse up and squeeze in just before the lock landing there. This looks like it will do for a while. These are only 2-day moorings here. So if I want to stay a bit longer, I'll have to go a little bit further up in a couple of days' time. Right, it's time for one of my favourite bits. Let's have a look around Napton. Some areas of the towpath around here, very wild and unkempt. And I think I've lost Ashby. Ash? Good boy. Good boy. And being the stubborn old fool that I am, I'm walking about in this lot with shorts. And I'm wrecking my legs. You have a look, there's all cuts and deep scratches. There is a good thing about these wild towpaths. Everywhere I'm looking, I'm seeing fruit. Some plums there. Loads of varieties of apples that I'm seeing. Some more apples. More plums. They're not ready to pick yet. But in a couple of weeks' time, I think I'm going to be having a field day. Now, I haven't seen this type of apple. I don't know if it's an old variety. I think I might have to take up canning in the future. Try and save some of this for the winter. Buildings over there are all part of the Folly pub. There's no one out here today because of the dodgy weather, but when it's half decent, it's really busy and thriving out here. They've even got such a thing as a cidery, where they make all different types and flavours of cider. And you can actually go in there and buy and drink ciders in there and find out what you like and what you don't. Napton derives from the Old English canap, or nap, meaning hilltop, and ton, meaning settlement. The village has been around a while, as it was mentioned in the Domesday Book of 1066. And most of the old buildings are made up with this old, like, honey-coloured sandstone, which is kind of beautiful, really, when you look around. It's got a lovely old village store and post office. Bit expensive. And I've walked all the way up the hill to have a look at this church. It's the Church of St. Lawrence, and it dates back to the 1100s, which is not far off 1,000 years old. It's very rural up here. All you can hear is cattle and sheep right in the middle of the farms. I tried to have a look inside the church, but I suppose where it's so rural, it was all locked up. And I could only see through or see a little bit through the window. Which is a shame, because it looks quite nice in there. God knows how old all this graffiti is. Could be a couple of months, or it could be hundreds of years. The Church of St. Lawrence is a beautiful old church with some beautiful views. It's said that on a clear day you can see 5 counties from up here. Wonderful. I'd like to thank some very generous and kind people. Don't forget, you can help my little channel out by giving me a thumbs up or even subscribe. It's all free. I've got a new member on the Buy Me a Coffee app to go with all my other lovely members. Will Grant. Thanks, Will. And if you got this far, thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next time.